Hello, everyone watching live and watching the recording. Welcome to the very beginning of Mastering Self. We're in week 10, but make no mistake, this is just the beginning. And in this session here, we lean into the self that we've been mastering and how to realize the freedom and possibility and potential available to us beyond this self. I'd love to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which I am calling from, Sarah is calling from, and Seth is calling from, the Arakwal people of Bundjalung Nation, and acknowledging the traditional custodians of all the lands from where all of you are calling from. Recognizing their continued connection to water, community, and I think it was food. I forgot that.
The land.
Land, thank you. And paying our respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. So in today's session, we're going to be reflecting not just on the last 7 days, but we're going to be reflecting on the last 10 weeks. And then we'll move into the self and beyond. What may lie there. Then, what now? Moving forward. It starts now. And what does that mean? And we'll close off with a beautiful honoring of one another, of what we've noticed and seen and witnessed of each other showing up on the calls, in the pods. But for now, let's be here as always and take a moment. So getting yourself comfortable, closing those eyes, even if you just managed to crack them open half an hour ago, having woken up into the day, or allowing those eyes, those eyelids to rest after a full day's worth of happenings. Taking a deep breath in. And gently relaxing, releasing, and returning to you. Breath in again, pausing at the top. And again, gently letting all of that air out. And allowing yourself to float at the very end there, just for a little longer. As you float beyond the breath. And letting the next breath take itself when it feels moved to. Pausing at the top there. Floating, not holding, just floating. And gently letting that out. Over to you now for a few moments. You notice the thought and the mind wander. Whatever the content of that thought, know that that is not you. Not this, not that. And relax, release, and return to the spaciousness of you, to the spaciousness of your me as awareness. Nowhere to be, nothing to do, no one to be. The last 4 breaths, bringing yourself back diligently to sit in the awareness of each breath every step of the way as it flows out, floats and turns in, floats and turns out. Allowing yourself to be the space within which the breath arises and observing it arise and fall away and arise and fall away within this space that is you, your awareness. When you're ready, gently carrying you as awareness into open-eyed state of being and gently cracking those eyes open. Okay, so this week's practice, the last 7 days, is flow in action, integrating your integration piece. How did you go with that? Can you bring to mind what your integration piece was from last session? You work on. And then the sitting practice, either option 1, where you were looking to get most days of the week, you showing up for you, and therefore for all, with your sitting practice. Or option 2, if that was already happening, bumping it up to 20 minutes daily as a challenge. So how are you going with all of that? checking in with each other in the social space. Taking 5 minutes with one other to simply share how you're going. Then we'll open that up to an open floor and hear where everyone is at. Enjoy. Dan, Justine, hello. Paula, Antoinette, Michelle. Whoa, we've got 3 on one screen there. Gift pack. And so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where are you at? How are you? How's your sitting practice? How was the 7-day challenge? How did you go with your integration piece? Smooth sailing or off to a rocky start? Over to you. Go for it, Michelle.
Me?
Me.
So I was speaking to Lou in the breakout room just then, and I was telling her how I went up to the 20 minutes a day sitting practice and how I managed that 6 out of 7 days. And I enjoyed it. But every single day I had this resistance play out in my mind, and I'd go to do it and I would say, no, I don't have time for 20 minutes. And then the other voice would say, of course you have time for 20 minutes. Don't be silly. You did it yesterday. Do it again. Then I'd sit down and say, okay, right, 20 minutes. And it would still come up, no, you don't have time for 20 minutes. And it was constant resistance, but I enjoyed it at the same time. So that was good. So it was a challenge, but it was good. So thanks for the challenge.
And you're welcome. And what if you didn't enjoy it?
I probably wouldn't have kept doing it. Yes. Because I've been enjoying the 5 minutes, and that's been fine. But one thing that's kept me going with the 20 minutes is because I actually like it. And what happens during those 20 minutes, I don't even know. And most of the time I'm present. But it's great. Yeah. And it's kind of proven to me that we can find the time. And I spoke to Sarah about this before, about what even is time and my whole concept of time. So that's been really good for me. But yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, and some really profound sort of, explorations there around the timepiece.
Mm.
And I want to keep it with, what if you didn't like it?
If I didn't like it, I wouldn't do it.
Why?
Because
Why do you meditate?
Mm.
Just because you like it?
No, that's true. No, I meditate to have some time with myself, to be present, to have some stillness, and to take that moment. But I guess if I didn't like it, I'd have to ask myself why, remind myself of the benefits, and persist.
And also ask, who is it that doesn't like it? That doesn't like it? That doesn't like it? Does it make sense? Yeah, you got me. Yeah.
Mm.
Who is it that's not liking it?
And who is it that's
or liking it?
finding the time?
Or liking it.
Liking it. Okay. Mm.
Useful at this point in time, continue on with the habit until it's not anymore. Yeah. Until it doesn't require someone to like it or not like it for you to be doing it. Yeah. Do you like brushing your teeth?
Not always, no.
You still do it, I hope. or showering.
Yeah.
It really, this is for everyone to really start to treat this sitting practice as no different to those basic hygiene, to be honest. Yeah. Of the central nervous system, of the heart, of the mind, of our spiritual selves / beings. Yeah. When we say spiritual here, what we're pointing to is knowing thyself, knowing this here. Yeah.
And also, Michelle, if there's like with brushing teeth is a good example, because probably for most of us, that's just happening, right? The teeth are just being cleaned. It's just kind of happening as a thing. Same when to take a shower, that's just what's happening. So any like or dislike, you can observe from that space of stillness where there's no like or dislike, and just seeing it as a thing that occurs within the construct. So there might be some preferences for the construct, whether that's like or dislike, not identifying with it, but seeing it as it is. So it might still be occurring. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just what's happening in that moment, and to then not go into the story of it and intend what you've intended to do, which is probably sitting, right? And just seeing the narratives that come up that prevent you either from doing it. And this goes for the sitting, but this goes for anything else, really, right? In life, any tasks or anything, really. Yeah, if there's a particular preference in certain work situations, whether that certain things are liked and certain other things are not liked, simply seeing the stories around it and the preferences from the construct, because only the construct can have preferences, right? Otherwise, it's simply just, this is what's been happening. This is just what we're doing right now.
We are intentionally speaking to sitting practice in this way, in this moment, because we are speaking to beyond the self in that sense, or to the mastering being. There's mastering self and mastering being, and today we're here to really speak to that, to true liberation, true freedom from all preferences. As long as there's preference, one of the Buddhists said this, man who has preference or woman who has preference suffers, full stop.
It's to that might still be occurring in the construct, but it's to see it as objectively. So that's why that's brought in, because it's not like, okay, if there's a preference, oh shit, now it's a preference, oh no, what's happening, right? And like kind of like, oh no, I'm not zen enough, or whatever else can come up as a narrative in response to that. But just simply seeing it and just knowing it's the construct because there's a preference, so that's clear, right? Good clarity there, and then move on. Not feeding it with any energy, because the resistance towards this is feeding it with energy as well. So simply seeing it, it's actually just that simple, seeing what's happening.
Thanks for the share, Michelle. Yep. Others? How's your sitting practice going? Regardless of whether you think or you are labeling it as good or bad, feel free to share. How's your integration piece going?
What realizations have been occurring?
Within my own family, I think I was like thinking, oh, they don't really understand what's going on in terms of the work that's being done. And that is something in me where it's like, I reckon it's like some type of superiority over them. And it's like, I am them anyway. So it's probably something in me that's like, wants to be understood by my family. And it's like, I don't know, just recognizing that and thinking that I was like trying to change them in a sense. I think, Dan, you mentioned something about you can't like place this, you can't change other people, they have to do it. I think I just realized that I was trying to do that for myself. So it was completely something in me. When in the space of what is like of what is, it just is like. So I've recognized that definitely.
And what you're seeing in them is the part of you that once didn't get the work, right? Or may not have been committing to the work. Yeah. That's what you're seeing. And it's quite reasonable for there to be a frustration that arises. Like, how can you not see the work? Particularly once with the work needing to be done, particularly once you've seen that.
Yeah, potentially that, and like what is the positive intention of them wanting to understand you, Rich?
Feel some type of acceptance. The construct wants some type of acceptance within the family, as though it can provide for them, like over responsibility. I think. So it's like, oh, the contract, Bridget's providing some level of care if there's an understanding between. So it's like, I think there's some level of validation or acceptance within the family for the construct to feel as though it can provide. So therefore, it is something like I am, like the construct is Bridget and Bridget's providing this, but really.
Yeah, sure. So my understanding of that is to be in some sense important for them, or to be recognized and acknowledged in a particular way. Yeah, beautiful noticing.
I think
Thanks for sharing.
even this morning, like I was driving back, I was like, oh, I'm happy to be doing the work. I was like, who's the one that's happy?
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
It's just, yeah.
Yep. Good. Thank you for sharing.
And the thing that they might be looking at, and they're seeing themselves looking at you and trying to, and seemingly it might be you're wanting them to see more of you and to be important in their eyes. However, there is a love so far beyond their mind for you, or that already exists, as you exist as love and they exist as love. Yeah, beyond all constructs is that. Yeah. On the surface, it can look a little messy, a little odd. Why would you say that? Why would you be like that? Why are you doing that? Whether it's family or people on TV, beyond all of that. Cool. We'll come into more of a sharing space a little further into the session. Okay, probably don't need to go through these entire 9 weeks. Now into the 10th. We're completing the 10th week, the self and beyond. In this session here, it is really scratching on the actual potentiality of you. Beyond construct, beyond ego. And so here in this course, what we have been, I can't see anyone, this really sucks. Give me 2 seconds. Does that work? Is there?
It's double now for us. Like
It's double.
Yeah.
Okay, give me 2 seconds. Oh well, I won't see your faces, beautiful faces. So in this course, what we've been focusing on, you're all pretty familiar with this arc. We introduced it in the first few weeks. And it's the developmental stages of ego. So ego development theory. And As you see, there's a reason why the arc goes up on this left side of this line, where we are adding. It's all about addition, adding knowledge, becoming someone, seemingly, as the ego develops. And we move through these stages, and up around this stage here, this course really looks to offer up the skills and means to be able to have healthier thinking patterns and behavioral patterns, to go from average thinking and behavioral patterns to much more healthy thinking and behavioral patterns. And so this session here and what lies beyond here, it's really around the back end of this 4 that you see here, that starts to turn around and have a look at what else is there from everything on the front here, where there's 2 things that happen. We're noticing everything on the front here. We start to really clearly, really quickly notice the constructing, not the construct, a stagnant thing, but the constructing, constantly arising and falling away. And what's in between? No construct, right? So there's not a stagnant construct. It's just ego constructing, a doing that happens. So we become really good at seeing that and grounding into that. This is what mastering being is all about. And then we start to turn around, and that happens via a mechanism of self-inquiry, self-questioning, and we move into self-actualization, into a truer being, a truer self in that sense. And so mastering being is really going to focus on these 3 little balls here. And you can see that this arc starts to come down. It's the undoing, the unknowing, the unbecoming, the unlearning. Why the hell would we want to unbecome and undo all of the awesome work that we've done to this point, right? That might be arising. Why the hell did we sit through the last 10 weeks and now you're telling us to unlearn all of that? Just notice, not only over the last 10 weeks, but over your entire lifetime, the tension that has been caused by the need to be a someone, to be seen as a someone, to be good enough as though you're not already, to need to know the answer. So you go out throughout the world gathering knowledge, so that you're safe and you've got it and you likely have the answer. The tension, that drives all of that. By all means, we can continue with that, and it's useful until it's not. And if you continue with this work, it will not be useful at some point, because you will realize, actually, what lies beyond this is a tensionless, spaciousness way of being that can be mastered and lived from more and more and more often in your life. Sure, there were things on this slide. Oh, there we go. So you've all seen this before. We had the judging, which is the ego. Judging the judging. Oh, that ball gets a little bigger. Super ego. Noticing all of that. The voice that judges the judging. Well, for you to be aware of these 2, what was it that was aware? Obviously, you couldn't be these 2. It was the me, silently witnessing, the observer. This is what we lean into when we are mastering being. This slide was used because it was a slide that was already familiar to you. And we just start to see the constructing of the I sooner and sooner and sooner, to the point where it can be coming up, but there is no engagement with it. And you have a world of possibility as to how you respond, and a world of clarity.
So this is a model that is designed based on the Moments Awake system that is designed by Joseph Scott from the coaching room. And next slide will be around the Moments Awake system. This model is a slightly sort of simplified version of that. And what this model shows is kind of what we've been exploring in the last 9 weeks, is how you see there moment 1, which is reality out there, which is also what we've explored in the NLP communication model, which is everything that happens out there, everything that happens in the external world. It can be events in the world, certain people, anything that can be perceived out there. Then we've also explored through, for example, the Enneagram, we've explored, and through just exploration through the ego, we've explored what the thinking and the feeling being looks like. What shape, what form, what colors does it take? Which is that demi-reality there. So that's moment 2 and moment 3 combined in one circle. There's moment 1, moment 2, moment 3, moment 4 is kind of terminology from the Moments Awake system. I'll touch on that a little bit later. But this thinking and feeling being is a demi-reality. And the reason it's called demi-reality is because it's a quarter wheel. It's kind of like a rainbow. Rainbow is a beautiful analogy for that. Because if you look at a rainbow, it's there, right? If you look at a rainbow, you see a rainbow, you can see it's there. You can look at three people can look at the rainbow and can say, yes, there's a rainbow there. But when you walk up to the rainbow, or when 3 people walk up to the rainbow, it's actually not there. So it seems to be there, even from multiple perspectives, it seems to be there. That's why this ego construct that we've been talking about, it's an individual construct. So it's happening in your particular location, a location that you're standing or sitting in. And it's also a collective construct. So multiple people can say, I think and feel this about this and this. And this samsara cycle that you see, which is kind of from moment 1 into moment 2, 3, and it sort of like loops into itself constantly. So it loops into moment 2, 3, thinks and feels about the world. Moment 2, 3, thinks and feels about the world. And thinking and feel about the thinking and feelings, and bouncing off of each other and bouncing off into the world. And this is samsara cycles where most people are living from. That 99%, 95% of the population is living from this reality. And what we've been exploring in this course with, for example, the Enneagram, is the way the thinking and feeling happens. How does the meaning get constructed in mind? In what ways? Things like time sits within that, preferences sits also within that thinking and feeling. Anything you can feel in the body that's related to thinking sits within this moment 2 and 3, sits within this thinking and feeling, sits within the construct, right? So it seems to be there and seems very real maybe at times, but if you actually walk up to it and feel the feeling, it actually is not there. You'll notice that it dissolves. So in meditation, as you sit and you watch your thinking and feeling, you're kind of starting to lean in towards more that moment 4, that causal space there, which is what we've been calling me, right? What Dan just spoke about as well, the me in you. In this moment 4 can see the thinking and feeling playing out more objectively. So it's not subject to it. It's not in the thinking and feeling. It doesn't identify with the thinking and feeling, but it can see it from a distance, if you will. And this causal space is free from duality. So what we've been exploring in the Enneagram is we've been exploring duality, right? We've been exploring the nature of duality and how there's certain preferences and thinking patterns and so on. That's all within duality. And as you start to ground yourself more in that causal space, which is what we've been doing in this course, especially towards the end, more towards that causal space, but it's also really what we're going to speak to in the next course, Mastering Being, and grounding yourself really, really properly in that moment 4. And maybe some of you kind of like tip in and out of the causal space into the demi-reality, causal space, demi-reality, like swing a little bit in between, and to really fully ground yourself in that causal space is to see there's an awareness around the constant constructing of the construct. So the constant narrativizing of the construct. And the clarity with which you can see the construct in the causal space is much more profound than when you're in it, right? It's not easy to see it when you're in it. And the causal space also, or the moment 4 being me, has a direct relationship with reality out there. So with moment 1. That's why it says clarity into, with, and as reality. So there's a clarity that comes online here. So it's not caught up in the meaning and the stories and the narratives about what other people think and feel about you, or what you think and feel about other people or events in the world and what that means, what happens on the news and what all that means, whatever else happens in your surroundings. But there's no thinking and feeling about that. It can be seen still, but it's kind of more objective. So the meaning is sort of taken out of that. And if there's no meaning in reality, there's no meaning in actual reality out there. The only place that there's meaning is in the thinking and feeling, so in the ego construct. And as you start to ground yourself more in moment 4, which is what the next course is going to be about, and we will speak to that then as well in more depth, is what comes through is right choice, right action, right speech, right perspective, and right energy. So you can engage in the world and be fully in the world and working with the world, and you can fully show up. There's no attachment, no aversion. You're fully in it, but you're less attached to particular outcomes or how you would like things to go. And with it comes just a spontaneous expression, a right action, a right speech, so you know exactly what to do in what moment, because it's just true in that moment. And any distraction from that, kind of Michelle, just linking it back to what you said, the right action was probably just to sit and to do that. Similar to how you brush your teeth, there's no thinking about, should I do this, yes or no? No, it's just kind of happening. And reality can be like that all the time, really, with any task you engage on or with any person you talk to. So that's really grounding into being me, your me, in moment 4.
Sarah, can you speak to the meaningfulness of reality?
Yeah, so like I said, there's no meaning in reality. So meaning lives in mind, yet simultaneously, reality is absolutely meaningful because it's life, and life is meaningful in itself, but it's not made up meaning. So it's not made up by the mind meaning. It's not like I've got a purpose and I've got to do these things in my life because I want to. No, reality, life is absolutely meaningful, but it's not constructed in mind in our perspective of what is meaningful and what isn't.
You can imagine the thinking and feeling this quarter reality that is not true in reality. It's a false reality. It's only a reality in mind about actual reality, but not actually happening in reality. Think of it as a dream as well. Yeah, where a dream feels so real, so real, walking around, saying things, doing things, until you wake up. And the same happens in this lifetime. If you're delving into and committing to the work earnestly and diligently, you start to wake up, this awakening process. And then it's like, whoa, that dream that I was in.
Yeah. So it's to the practice for this, and we will talk to it in our next course as well, but it's going to be a while before we actually start facilitating that next course. So between now and then is to slow down, and start to see these dynamics happening. Start to see more of the thoughts and the feeling, and start to become more and more objective to it, because there are different layers to that, right? Slow down.
Slow down with your slide transitions, Dan.
Yeah, well, that was beautiful. Well, this is the Moments Awake system designed by Joseph Scott. Joseph Scott is Dan's coach, and I've done some training with him too. Marion has done training with him too. He's from the coaching room, and he's designed this model. And he also does different retreats on this himself, which you can find on the coaching room website if you're interested in that. And we will be using some of this model also in the next course in Mastering Being. So again, as you can see, there's at the bottom, you can see moment 1, moment 2, 3, and 4, kind of going upwards on the left-hand side there. And you can see what he is called, what we call the construct, he's called that the occupant. So you can see the occupant, and you can see the thinking being of the occupant and the feeling being of the occupant. Most people live in the thinking being of the occupant, so they're occupied by thoughts. Although the feeling being is still part of the occupant, it's a deeper part of the construct, and we have to go through it in order to go beyond it, if you will. So the feeling being is a deeper clearing, like there's a deeper clearing that occurs there. And the next course will be, then if you do an extra click further, the next course will be around, like Dan also already mentioned in the ARC, but in this system, it will mostly sit around really grounding in that moment 4, like I mentioned before. And with that, we also look a little bit into moment 5. So we start to touch a little bit on moment 5 and what that looks like and what it feels like to be from that place, to live from that place. And with the clarity that is now gained in moment 4, we start to clean up and look back at the construct with more clarity and start to clean more of the reminiscences of that. So there might still be construct coming out, there might still be things coming up and narrativized. There's a clarity around seeing those. And now we can effectively and efficiently and healthily clean that in a sense. So with moment 4, you also start to see duality playing out more easily. So we will do, in the next course, we will also do different A practices where we, so that's polarity practices and polarity integration exercise where we integrate, where we transcend and integrate dualities. And in moment 4, it becomes more and more obvious how different dualities are playing out. And there are deeper duality practices that we can do and a more kind of like common duality practices are a bit more surface level, but all of them are very necessary to address, to really ground oneself healthy in that moment 4 at the top there. Just to speak to the profoundness of moment 4, not that it's really a profoundness or an achievement of any kind, but not many people are actually living from that place in a grounded, stable way. So it's quite a significant move to really ground oneself in that space. And it can take years, doesn't have to, depending on the individual. But to speak to, kind of like what that might look like and feel like for you. It's a significant shift to where most people are living their day-to-day life. Yeah.
And as was mentioned earlier, you might also see this very faint line coming down this moment 4 here. And the reason for that is there are almost 2 halves to this moment 4. The moment 4 that is looking forward at the feeling, thinking, feeling being, and just noticing all of that arise. And then moment 4 also starts to turn around a little. Be like, well, what else is there? What am I rather than who am I? When we're asking who is thinking that, we're referencing the occupant. Yeah. What are you is an entirely different question that starts to turn around at a vastness of what you are that is so far beyond what we have been conditioned to take ourselves to be, which is why on the left-hand side, you see this conviction of the occupant and in brackets, misidentification. So it's a case of mistaken identity. We have taken ourselves to be what we think that others take us to be. And all of that is just an idea, just an idea. What we take ourselves to be is the self and your name, and whether it be Michelle, Mike, Kate, Ash, Dan, does not actually, I'm here to break you up, does not actually exist. Yeah. Where? Show me where. And if you say here, sure, I can see there's a body there. Let's split your brain open for a second. Where is the self? Hello. Yeah. Just to allow this in and realize with love that you are so far beyond your own comprehension of what you take yourself to be. And just to let that start to land. So as Sarah was speaking to polarities, which we'll be working with in Mastering Being, just to give you a quick example, rather than working through it and using it as a practice, just a quick example. And There's attachment and avoidance. And Michelle, this is very similar to liking or disliking, and anyone else who likes or dislikes or has preferences. We tend to have an attachment to the things we like. Even meditation, I do it because I like it. How easy is it to get caught up in that narrative, even though it was known here that it's known there? The benefits of meditation and the profundity of meditation well beyond whether it feels good or not. And so attachment, liking something, a good feeling, whatever that might be, simultaneously living on the same line, there's avoidance, not wanting something to happen because you're wanting to be here. So you're not wanting that. It's why they say in life, if you know what you don't want in life, then it's painting quite a beautiful picture at what you might want in that sense. I just don't know what I want to do with my life. Well, what is it you don't want to do in your life? Well, that's shining a light on what you might want to do in life. Now, with that being part of the same stick, completely interdependent, what we focus on in mastering being is coming and living and communicating and speaking and acting from this place up here, the apex, from presence, from me, as pure awareness. From here, even if attachment, wanting, or liking arises within the construct, within moment 2 or 3, and even if there's a dislike or a preference for something else or an avoidance that arises within the construct, within 2 or 3, you are able to sit at the apex and notice how both of those arising are completely interdependent. Within this view from the apex, you can see how both exist dependent on one another from a place of presence. Nothing to do with it. And if you drop one, either the preference or wanting it to be different, then the other falls away too. So it's really about grounding into this space here and to live more and more of your life from that space. Beautiful, beautiful quote from a beautiful book that we're reading. And the whole book is a dialogue between Maharaj, a guru, but a guru slightly of different kinds, and the audience he's with. And the listener asks, in what way do I know myself as this supreme awareness that you speak of? Maharaj, the source of consciousness cannot be an object in consciousness. To know the source is to be the source. When you realize that you are not the personality, but the pure and calm witness, and that fearless awareness is your very being, you are the being. It is the source, the inexhaustible, infinite possibility. That is what you are. Now, I'm signing up for that. And anyone that's with us, we would love to be on this journey with you in realizing the truth of what's written here. Pure, calm, witness, fearless, awareness, inexhaustible possibility. All of us have been playing small for far too long. And so it's time to continue this process, self and beyond, mastering being. And just quickly to touch on, we spoke to these 5 circles, and really this comes from Bernadette Roberts's work, What is Self? However, we used it simply to represent the process of awakening. In this far left, you have this little dot, which you might call the small self, the ego in the middle. And then we start to go beyond the ego in this second one here. And you start to clear any remnants of even a higher self in that sense, and become more and more spacious and open.
And the beauty with that is that the cleaning through those circles, if you will, it's kind of, it requires your showing up in your commitment, but it's the divine doing its work for you, in a sense. So it's not even you, it's not so much a doing from your end, from your individual end. It's simply to show up for the work, commitment, do the daily practices and so on. But the rest will actually just happen out of itself if you're open and receptive to the process.
You start to show up in service on behalf of service. And service sounds like, if you take, service, oh yeah, well, let's just take other forms of service. The waiter serving people. So we're serving something out there. Guess what it starts with? On behalf of service to you. Showing up for that. Without that, zero chance. And as you continue to show up diligently, earnestly in this work on behalf of service to you, you start to realize what you are and the expansiveness of that. And the expansiveness of that starts to include all beings. It starts to include all. And the more we ground ourselves in service, that is also a big part of the process of clearing the self.
And really important pointer to make about service is that service, like Dan already said, service is for self, kind of that's where it starts, but it starts there first. Because if the attention goes out and there hasn't actually been done any work here, but it's simply because you want to get a job to be in service or whatever, or to be seen a particular way to be in service or whatever that's on behalf of, it goes way and way and way, way, way slower. Way slower. So it's really doing the work diligently, honestly, earnestly, with earnestness for yourself first and foremost.
Each of us will, if we continue doing this work, hopefully together, each of us will or would have gone through a stage where doing the work on self seems a little selfish. Yeah, because I should be in service of something out there. But if this is not being nurtured and taken care of here, then we are offering up a second-rate version to all out there. And then there comes a question around integrity. Cool. Just to leave that on a light note, mastering being is the next iteration. This course here is a prerequisite for that course. So welcome everyone. About this time next year, we will be running this course. We'll be running another Mastering Being starting around end of January. Feel free.
Self,
sorry. Thank you for the correction. And feel free to join Mastering Self again, if you like, for the full 10 weeks or for one session or for a few or every few sessions, completely up to you. I guess you could let us know. We'll decide. Either way, we're going to make it accessible to everyone, complimentary in that sense, that has already taken part of this course here. And we're really going to be moving into awakening beyond the tension and resistance and into spaciousness and clarity in the power of you. Living, not the personality. So living from presence and beyond the personality, the ego, the 2 and 3. Yes, sounds good, hey?
Just to add there as well, the reason that we've been exploring the personality more deeply in this course is because first we need to know what we're even dealing with in the first place, right? We need to know what does the construct look like. The Enneagram is a powerful tool for that. There are multiple tools out there that can show us what is the shape of the construct. What does this even look like? What happens in the construct? In order to go beyond, in a sense, you need to first know what you're not. So that's the clarity that we've done in this course. The clarity that you gain through this course will help and support you to move beyond the construct in a healthy, grounded, and in a healthy and grounded way that's actually useful, because otherwise you might understand spiritual concepts really quickly, but if you haven't done the work in the construct itself, it's still going to probably have you and drag you back down into the distractions of that, because
So-
there hasn't been brought enough awareness to it.
Really good point. And, you know, if a part of you is like, oh, I want to get there, you know, this isn't something where, okay, we're finished with this now and now we're doing that. It's all a process, and there's hopefully less and less of construct, or at least being had by construct, and more of living from our true state in that sense. And yeah, do not, you know, this rule of thumb still plays out, which is to ground where you are now in a really healthy way, and that will be your opening. Yeah. Any questions, thoughts? What thoughts did you have as we were sharing all of that? A couple worried looks on people's faces. You should be excited. Feelings that may have arisen. No need for an outcome when you share these. Yeah, questions, feelings, thoughts. What were they? Not did you have any, because we know that's not true, that all of you are sitting here without a thought or feeling. Justine.
Yes, Dan.
How are you?
Good.
How was that received?
Pardon?
How was that received?
Look, I'll start by saying that because I haven't been able to brush my teeth sufficiently this week, I ended up at the dentist today and had a filling.
I thought it was because you were choosing not to meditate that you were not brushing your teeth.
So my week started out great, and I quickly found myself pretty much back in the space I was in at the start of this course so quickly. And this is answering your question. But I find it really confronting, because it calls on me, I guess, in one way to find self-trust. I know what I want, and I know what's important. But I also see the pattern of, you know, my level of commitment to various things over the course of my life. Yeah. So yes, it's appealing in such a big way. This is such a deep-seated desire. But they're my feelings. It's conflict in a way.
Can you say more to that conflict part?
I know there's no question about the conflict comes from, I guess, I know very clearly where I'd like to be, and don't trust myself to continue along that journey.
So drop knowing where you'd like to be, because you're already there. You're just being distracted into thinking you're not, by the thinking and feeling that you're not. Yeah. It's really simple. Show up every day, whether it's for 5 minutes or 20 minutes, and watch what you are not. any of the thinking, feeling that's arising. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. This mastering being may not be for everyone. It is absolutely available and possible for everyone without doubt, without doubt. However, what it does require is earnestness and commitment. Earnestness, yeah, and commitment. You've shown up this false story, this false reality that you are telling yourself. You have shown up. If you're telling me you don't have this concept of commitment, because that's still a concept, right? You have shown up week in, week out, week in, week out, week in, week out, week out for 10 weeks on this course. 10 weeks is a long fucking time, Justine. Yeah. 2.5 months. 2.5 months, and you've shown up every week. Drop that false reality, that false story. Yeah. If you notice that coming up, just remind yourself of your commitment to this course. That didn't come out of, or it did come out of nowhere, but it came out of the vastness of all possibility of what you are. Yeah. That's a mini honoring for you, a little ahead of time. Yeah. For the amazing commitment that you've already shown whilst telling yourself the story that you don't, you're crap at committing to things.
I'm judging on how I feel. And very clear from even the explanation that Sarah gave that that's not a place to trust.
It's not a place to distrust either. That's the same as the polarity. It's part of the same one. It's not a place to distrust.
Stop distrusting. You don't need trust.
I am not type 6.
Doesn't matter.
Thanks, Justine. Thank you, Justine.
Thanks, Rose.
Any other thoughts, feelings that came up?
I think that there's something really beautiful to the work that you're sharing with, like that we're all doing together. And it is noticeable in interactions in everyday. Like, I guess a lot of people do say, like, I've had like a few people over the past week just say you're very calm. Like you're like just very calm. And I was like, oh, okay, like, because I guess I can't really see that. And I just don't, there's a bit of doubt there in my own self, like that doubt of my own presence. However, like the feedback is that you're just a very zen, calm person. I was like, that's nice to hear. Because I guess I can't really see that. So yeah.
Yeah, good job, Bridge.
Yeah, awesome. And also with this work, it's like at some point it's like, you're not coming on the journey, right? If we're going to go totally on that other end of the arc, if you look at the Moments Awake system there, we're going to go totally on that scent. Like you, the Bridget, the construct Bridget is not going to come along. It wants to just sit on your back in a little backpack and comes along with the whole ride. But probably you won't even notice how actually clear you are, but other people will notice it because you're not coming along. So you won't even really be aware of that, right?
It's really true.
Yeah. Beautiful.
When the construct looks at reality and looks at what it perceives itself to be, it looks through a straw. And that is the scope through which it actually receives reality. And through that scope, that is how it starts to perceive who it thinks it is. Like this, right? That's the scope. Can't even fit all of you on the screen inside of this straw. Remove that straw. Whew. Just remember that. whenever you're feeling any particular way. It's a misidentification that's happening, and yeah, you're so much more than a little wave in the ocean. You are the ocean.
Just to speak
Lawrence,
really quickly.
I thought you were going to speak. Yeah.
So there may be something arising in some of these locations which feels like resistance, or feels like something tenuous, something apprehensive. This is a good thing, because that is where the work is. And that is a big part of what we do with the one-to-one coaching, is see what's in the way. Just see it, for then we can move past it. But there is no other process that parallels the one-to-one relationship for really getting clear on what it is that resistance represents. Seeing it with clarity so that we can drop it and move forward to master being. So just wanted to presence that, because it's alive. And several of you are in that work already. So I'm sure that you can understand what it is that we're referring to.
And off the back, thanks, Lawrence. Off the back of that, you know, each and every one of us that are a part of the SN team are evolving as a result of interacting with every one of you, right? It is only because of you that we are also evolving, and then vice versa. We are really genuinely walking each other home to me, to that spaciousness. So a huge thank you comes forth from here and from all of us. We're writing quite well. So we'll move on here. I wish I could see all of you. So our man, Alan Watts, and a beautiful video from him. It starts now. So okay. Everyone can see the screen here. I'm going to need people to say something because I can't see.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, cool. And I'm going to play 2 seconds and just check the audio.
This is therefore to say.
Yep.
Cool.
Oh, good.
Tune in, everyone.
Although it might be on a 1.5 speed, just checking in on that quickly.
Oh, good catch. 3.5 minutes. Also.
This is therefore to say that transformation of human consciousness through meditation is frustrated so long as we think of it in terms of something that I myself can bring about by some kind of wangle, by some sort of gimmick. Because you see, that leads to endless games of spiritual one-upmanship and of guru competitions, of my guru is more effective than your guru, my yoga's faster than your yoga, I'm more aware of myself than you are, I'm humbler than you are, I'm sorrier for my sins than you are, I love you more than you love me. This interminable goings on about which people fight and wonder whether they are a little bit more evolved than somebody else and so on. All that can just fall away. And then we get this strange feeling that we have never had, you see, in our lives, except occasionally by accident. Some people get a glimpse that we are no longer this poor little stranger and afraid in a world it never made. but that you are this universe, and you are creating it at every moment. Because you see, it starts now. It didn't begin in the past. There was no past. See, if the universe began in the past, when that happened, it was now. See? Well, it's still now. And the universe is still beginning now, and it's trailing off like the wake of a ship from now. And the wake of the ship fades out, so does the past. You can look back there to explain things, but the explanation disappears. You'll never find it there. Things are not explained by the past. They're explained by what happens now. That creates the past, and it begins here. That's the birth of responsibility. Because otherwise, you can always look over your shoulder and say, well, I'm the way I am because my mother dropped me. And she dropped me because she was neurotic, because her mother dropped her. Now away we go back to Adam and Eve, or to a disappearing monkey or something. We never get at it. But in this way, you're faced with it, you're doing all this. And that's an extraordinary shock. So, cheer up. You can't blame anyone else for the kind of world you're in. And if you know, you see that I, in the sense of the person, the front, the ego, it really doesn't exist, then it won't go to your head too badly if you wake up and discover that you're God.
Sounded like he was referencing or listening along to the rest of this session. Really allow that to fuel you moving forward. It starts now, yeah, and now is the beginning. What thoughts and feelings arose there as you were listening to that? Smiles from Georgina. Paula? Had to just once.
Just that it's yeah, it's really true, but just reminding yourself that all that is really now, and just to live with that in mind. Stop getting in my own way as such as well.
Yeah, really simple, really true. Thanks, Paula.
Hello.
Hello.
I've been thinking it for some time. It's always funny to talk when you haven't spoken for a while. It's like, is my voice still there? Is this going to come out?
I see you speaking there through the ego development arc.
Ah.
Sorry, dad joke. Sarah's not pregnant. Just, you know, ahead of my time here. Sorry, Georgina. I'll derailed you.
Don't worry. I think it's gone over my head. What Alan Watts was saying is something I've been feeling for a while, or what I understood as that the world truly is as I am, and that outside, and it's quite fun because yeah, it's fun to play with. And to remember is a remembering, because I'm still drawn out of myself a lot. Happens all the time. But with the awareness there, noticing that that is all that it is. And that it's always a coming back, and it's constant work, like it's always, but it's so much fun, and it feels like really the only thing that's we're here for, or that I've the thing that I want to do is just be here now, like him and so many other people talk about. Yeah, it's so much fun. Thank you for the fun.
Thank you, Georgina. And as you would have noticed in the diagram, that the little model that Sarah was speaking to, where from that space of me, it connects directly into the first moment, which is the external world, and an expression out into the external world. That's that service. So Georgina, when you said this work is it's what we're here to do, fundamentally, yes. And then expressing from that place of true, with spontaneous speech, spontaneous action out there into the world, whatever that might be. Yeah. For some, it might simply, but profoundly be being a parent. Yeah. For some, it might be inventing some incredible thing. And yeah, whatever it is, it'll be different for each human. Fundamentally, what we're here to do is to awaken into what we truly are. In that sense, makes sense.
And also what it might be is what Bridget was already touching on, just simply being more calm and present, and other people will pick up on that. That's in and of itself already service, in a sense, because it will ripple through in all sorts of ways that many people are not even aware of, beyond the thinking, beyond the rational mind that can understand that and even see that that's happening. But it has an effect beyond our comprehension in that sense.
Any other shares? Okay. Beautiful. So off the back of that, let's take a moment together. Where are we at the time? Beautiful. So everyone simply closing their eyes, making yourself comfortable. Giving yourself permission to absorb all of which you've been exposed to over the last 10 weeks, which is true and relevant for you. Absorbing all of that with every intentional breath in. Allowing it to land somewhere beyond the mind, ready and accessible by you whenever the need may arise. There isn't a trust required that you will remember it, or a distrust that you won't. Simply a basic trust. in the moment. And that you have all of the resources available to you. Any resource you feel that is out of your reach in the moment is not a resource that you need in that moment. In this way, you have an abundance available to you. Basic trust in the moment. So as you breathe in, just letting yourself take the time at the top of that next breath in. Releasing the tension as you're holding that. And gently letting out the holding on to the patterns which no longer serve you. Loosening the grip with every breath out, releasing the tension in your body and thereby releasing and loosening the grip on those patterns that are no longer serving you. Allow yourself to do this with the next 3 breaths. Relax, release, and return home to you. And in loosening this grip on those patterns that no longer serve you, notice how with a looser grip, there's more space surrounding whatever it is that you are gripping. It may not have fallen away immediately, but hey, there is newfound space simply by relaxing, releasing, and returning to the spaciousness of you. Allowing that next breath out to really be audible, fogging up that window through the nose or the mouth. Slow down. Slow down. Notice all of which are rising within the space that is your awareness, that is you. Nothing to do, nothing to say, simply to notice. As you slow down. Relax. Release. Return to a deeper sense of me, of your me. these last 4 breaths in this sitting, diligently being with the gentleness of the breath that is nourishing your body every step of the way out as it turns and makes its way in, as it floats and makes its way back out. When you're ready, gently opening your eyes, knowing that just because eyes are open, do not leave this space, even if you tried. So we'll use the next 10 minutes or so as an opportunity to honor each other for the way we have noticed some people showing up for themselves in this course, asking questions in the pods, simply showing up and being here, or anything else that comes to mind for you. Go for it. Actually, I might kick it off. Justine. I'd love to honor Justine for the false non-commitment that she showed in committing to every single session and showing up and being here. And yeah, there was a real shift in how you were expressing as well that had occurred from first few sessions and moving forward. And know that this goes for anyone, that even if we do have swing backs to seemingly patterns from before, what's been uncovered here cannot be unknown in that sense. So thank you for showing up, Justine.
Thanks, Dan. I feel like I've been given the most incredible gift. Not just in beyond this program, like everybody in my pod, my pod buddies are amazing. But even in the little connections that we've had when we've gone into breakout rooms, and I mean sharing in Telegram, and as much as you all as coaches are so inspiring, just I guess everybody who's been participating has been inspiring too. Thank you.
I think that's an honouring for everyone that took part.
For everyone.
Justine, just to reiterate Dan and just say, acknowledging the way you've been showing up in the pod calls has been amazing, and it's been an incredible experience for all of us, really. So thank you.
I'd love to honor Michelle. I've had a few one-on-one calls with you as well, and can really see your eagerness and your willingness, and feel like you haven't missed a session from what I've seen from here. So yeah, I'd just love to honor the way you've been showing up and the way you've been applying to yourself from what I understood from our conversations together, and your willingness to listen to others and be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you guys. Really good.
I'd like to acknowledge two people. My sister Bridge, for encouraging me to do this course. I really appreciate her pushing me to do it, because I've gotten a lot out of it. And also I'd like to acknowledge Lou and Lee, because they were in my pod and they were just so beautiful. And I loved our conversations and just how real they both were. And I really just want to acknowledge them both just for being them.
Thanks, Ash. If I could do Lee's voice, I'd say thank you.
Right back at you, Ash.
I'd like to acknowledge Paula and Dan, who were both my pod people, beings, and yeah, just for exploring together and how bringing everything that they do and all that they are and all that they're not, and having fun and while taking it seriously and just basically playing together. And yeah, thank you, and thank you for holding a space for that to be available to us all. So much gratitude to all of you beings holding the space and all the beings that have come to play in the space. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgina. It's been fun. I'd like to honour everybody's vulnerability.
I'd love to honor Lawrence for keeping the chat alive. It can get a little bit dusty and a little bit deserted in there. And doesn't matter what, you always, you're like pumping it. Even when there was like some serious deep stuff going on in the group, when we were all chatting verbally. Lawrence was keeping it alive, which sometimes I was like trying to be in two places at once, but it was a really helpful avenue. And I felt really comfortable putting any questions I had in as well that like might not have been able to be voiced like in the moment. So thanks, Lawrence. And Justine as well. The changes I've seen in you have been phenomenal, and just the vulnerability that you've brought to the pod is seriously honorable. And yeah, there's been some pretty special moments outside of this in the pod, and I just really want to honor Justine for that. And for your openness to continue to not give in to thinking that the course is over. And that I feel temptation with that, just being like it's feeling it close and how easy it can be to just resume normal life. And I see that you're actively making the choice to choose for your own freedom. And it's not always easy. Not always, not always the default choice.
I'd like to honor Ness, silent ninja. Always there, just observing. But really, you've shown a real commitment to showing up, and thank you for the few words of wisdom that you have shared. Thank you.
Thank you for holding this space. I'd love to return. I'm sort of going through a bit of a swing back, to use your words. I'm struggling a little bit. But yeah, thank you for holding this space, just for allowing us to all, I guess, come home in a way, come back to me.
Just off the back of that, know that this community isn't going anywhere. You're each a part of the members community, officially members of Your Sand, as a result of engaging in a course or a retreat. Reach out, whether it's through Telegram or email. You need a chat, even us coaches or someone here that's a part of the community. It's what it's here for. And this relationship is not a one course stand. We are here for the long run. It's a play on the one night stand.
Dan, can you leave the dad jokes to me?
Please do.
I'd like to honor everyone. I feel like when I look at everyone's just smiling, and it's so beautiful. It's just like, hi. It's just so nice. Yeah. So nice.
Yeah, second that as well, really, an acknowledgement and honouring of everyone for the way that you've shown up, whether or not you're here on this call, and also those watching the recordings as well. It's been beautiful to feel this Mastering Self course community doesn't start and end, at 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. on the AEDT, and that's important as well, the time zone thing. I appreciate everyone's flexibility and adjustments and communications, and it sounds like the pods have just taken on a life of their own, and that's really special as well. There's this intention with those groups to simply be there, to support and extra practices, but it sounds like people have potentially become lifelong friends and cleared huge parts of their construct in these 20-minute once a week calls. So just really acknowledging and honoring the people who have engaged with that part of the course and made it that extra special. And yeah, it's been awesome to be here in the background, weaving all the threads together.
Ideally, what we would love is for everyone to join in for one-on-one coaching, so we can continue to support you between courses and retreats, and to simply jump on a call once a month together, which happens with the coaching circle. It's currently what we have space for with the size of the team at this point in time, and also to continue pods within the one-on-one coaching in that sense. So it does require a readiness, but please don't shy away from the conversation to delve into that and ask any questions and help us support you in overcoming any barriers to that, or at least discussing those. I have so many honorings, but I'll go like maybe one me, and when you're kind of letting cars in traffic, one me, one you. Seth, I'd love to honor Seth, who missed out on the first 5 weeks of Mastering Self because he was off doing in committing to NLP, neuro-linguistic programming course, and came in 5 weeks in, caught up on every single recording, and then has shown up to every session since. So thank you, brother, for jumping in that way. Someone else.
Jump in quickly. I've got two. The first one is for this group as a whole, and that's been echoed by a few people, but the heart and the openness and just the it's almost hard to put into words, the energy of this group here all together. It's resoundingly beautiful, and so thank you to each of you for the contribution to that. It's made up of every single person that's sitting here on the screen and those who've been involved in the course all the way through. So thank you for the piece that each of you have brought. And then secondly, for Georgina as well, I wanted to honor the sharings that you've brought into the group space, the lightness and playfulness and elegance that you have shared from the place that you've shared from yourself has been really beautiful. And I know that it's what you have shared has landed for many in the group. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Can I just make
Sarah.
one more honoring?
Yes.
I love to honor Antoinette.
Oh yeah.
Who is my mama.
This is the
for those who haven't figured that out yet. For supporting me in every part of my own journey, supporting me always, and it's been my whole life. It felt like that you've been always supporting me, including now. So I'd like to honor you for that, and thank you for that.
Really beautiful. Gonna make me cry. Well, I'm going to ride off the back of that and would love to honor. It's kind of a double honoring. All of the parents that have little ones running around, and that can, the busyness that can add to life, that have even committed to jumping onto this course and showing up when they can onto the calls, but at least hopefully watching the recordings and so on. But really, honoring your commitment to this despite added commitments that come into life through little beings. And then, a similar honoring, but those that are non-parents but have a lot happening for them and may not have shown up on every call, but have come far enough to commit to the course and hopefully engaging offline in that sense. So anyone who's engaged in this, who took that step, the courage that took, huge honoring towards that for all of you.
Feels really good to honor Dan and Sarah at this point as well for birthing this baby of a course. Really incredible to have. We have been building this over the majority of the second half of this year and in various conversations and things, and it's just been incredible to watch this process come alive and to see it in kind of in its fruition and the way it's unfolded over these weeks. It's been beautiful to work with both of you and the rest of the YesN team, Mary and Seth, to work with two of you in all of this. But especially just to watch the way that you've worked together and bringing this course is truly special. And perhaps on behalf of all of us for experiencing it and for what it's awoken within each of us, thank you. Very excited for Mastering Being.
That's a beautiful segue. Thank you, Lawrence. It's quite interesting, like the process that takes shape to put something like this together. It's almost as though it's been existing somewhere here for some time for us as a team in that sense, and to then draw it in. And I remember we were engaging the last retreat group to ask, hey, which one of these rings more true for you, Mastering Being or Mastering Self. What were the other names? I can't even remember now, but we landed on Mastering Self. And then I really have to say Sarah was the driver of this in a massive, massive way, really, really bringing it to life. And then there was this beautiful locking in that had occurred between her and Lawrence, and Lawrence really contributed to the beyond session here experience from pods, from Kajabi, and the organization and thought and consideration and energy that went into that. So loads of energy there. And, you know, Sarah, myself and Marion were jumping on calls every week and planning and refining and so on. So acknowledgements all around. And yeah, Sarah really, it was huge. Like the energy that you brought, it simply just wouldn't have happened without you in that sense. So yeah.
Thanks, my love.
Yeah, Marion's cat for making appearances from time to time, and I guess my dad and my stepmom jumping on, which is really beautiful as well, particularly in the first 6 weeks, supporting in that way. It was really special. They would take the time out. So we're just going to thank you so much for all of those beautiful sharings. We're just going to bring in the focus for what's next here. I still hate that I can't see you, but no preference for being able to see you. I kind of did this in reverse. So the practice moving forward is consistency. That is the practice. Pretty simple, hey? The self-awareness practice, just revisit, reread your integration piece. And really bring that into action on a day-to-day basis. And with the sitting practice, there is now a sitting practice. You know how to sit, how to meditate. Yeah. And so let it be a daily practice. And the rule, commitment, I don't know if you remember signing the agreement early on in the piece, is no practice, no brushing teeth. Why would you treat these things any differently or better than, say, nurturing your central nervous system, your heart, your mind, and your spiritual being? No practice, no brushing teeth. And as we have a check-in with everyone sometime in the next 3 to 4 weeks, it's going to be a little tricky with the busy period, but we would love to check in with everyone at some point. Might even be end of Jan. To jump on a call and I hope to see super, super clean teeth when we jump on that call. That would be amazing. 5 out of 7 days, most days, sure. However, remember that if it's the weekend, go and sit for 30 seconds. Or take a minute rather than a moment. And do that 2 or 3 times a day. Better than nothing at all. However, also look to lean into depthing your sitting from 5 to 10. And if you're sitting around between the 10 to 20, it's a really nice space to be in. Not because we like it, it's simply because of the depth in relationship that it gives us with the moment. And that. So moving forward, the practice and play, it starts now. In the words of Alan Watts, commitment to the work in service of you and down the line realize that it's in service of all. Next, coaching, there's apprehension. That's not a reason not to take it on. Lean into it. Let us have a chat with you and see where you're at, see how we can best support you. Retreat. The last one was an absolute blast and so beautiful. I'm sure that many that were on this call that were there would tell you that. You are now a part of the members community, and therefore will be receiving priority access to retreats and courses and events. In about 5 days' time, we'll be making the next retreat, which is in February, available to general public. So everyone here will receive an email around that with a code 10% off that retreat as well, as part of being a member. 10% is a fair bit on the retreat. The theme for the retreat is integral health and well-being, where there will be Zentai bodywork and massage. You'll learn how to do that, and there'll be a cooking class, naturopath we're looking to get on, and an integral GP that we're looking to get on to speak to their perspective on overall health, as well as how the psycho-spiritual element plays out in everyday living, from eating to preparing your food, to walking, to communicating, to sex, to all of it. And so get in touch there. It seems to be this, it's grabbing a lot of attention, that retreat. And then Mastering Being this time next year. Telegram, join the SN members community. If you haven't already, jump in there. We will keep the Mastering Self Telegram open for about another 2 weeks to a month. And then we're shifting over to the members community, where you get to speak about all things ego, levels of consciousness, stages of development, lines of intelligence, quadrants, Enneagram, all of those things. So yeah, and just sharing your personal experiences. Pods, those will be continuing the coaching circle at this point in time. And workshop, there is a workshop this Thursday, I believe, Creation Ex Nihilo, Creation Out of Nothing, by Sarah. So jump in there if you are keen. She will be speaking to those polarities that we shared today, particularly around creativity. And so, any questions? Well, it's 8:08. I was going to play a game, but maybe not. Any questions? All pretty sweet. Thank you, everyone, for your energy. Christina, thank you for your love, for your heart, for your beautiful smile, and for showing up. Just a quick honoring there for you. And yeah, thank you, everyone. It's only the beginning. Looking forward to seeing you all around.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye for now.
Thank you.